And Greg, look, we were getting into some of the detail there about baby C from Dr. Taylor, but why don't you just take us back to what we heard from Mark MacDonald and the reasons why now he says there are two new bits of evidence. He had two statements as to why he thinks that all the convictions for Lucy Letby are unsafe.
Well, Mark MacDonald is the new lawyer for Lucy Letby. He took over her case after her convictions and had called this news conference promising what he said were fresh developments and new evidence that he said significantly undermined those convictions. And we've heard there what that evidence is, although he says it isn't actually new evidence. It's just a revision of opinions, pointing to the fact, as he said, that he's immediately seeking permission from the Court of Appeal to reopen the Court of Appeal process. We know the Court of Appeal has twice ruled that Lucy Letby can't appeal against those convictions. He's asking for that to be reopened now and for them to review the convictions. He admits that's rare, in fact almost unprecedented for them to do that, but that is what he's calling for on the basis of what he talked about there. The expert evidence of a man called Dr. Dowie Evans, who was the lead prosecution witness during the course of Lucy Letby's first trial, that trial that lasted 10 months, and saying that Dr. Evans has revised his opinion on the deaths of a number of those babies and has talked about that in interviews with newspapers and on podcasts as well, and saying because of that concern on a number of babies, therefore Mr. MacDonald believes the Court of Appeal, with that information, might now agree to reopen that appeals process, and that's what he's asking for. And also a report he presented from two neonatologists talking about the deaths. They've looked into the deaths of two of those babies Lucy Letby was convicted of attacking, and that report saying they've seen no evidence of deliberate harm by anyone to those babies. So that is the case that Mark MacDonald is outlining and which he will take to the Court of Appeal again. We should remember that Lucy Letby is serving a whole life prison sentence for the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 7 others. The judge at the first of those trials calling her cruel and calculating. We know there's been a lot of discussion from people like Mark MacDonald and online as well, and expert witnesses questioning some of those convictions. The families of some of those victims have said they find all of this distressing and upsetting, they say, and through lawyers have said that all of those who've looked at the evidence in this case, from the jury to the families to the Court of Appeal, are certain of her guilt. That is their position. We should also say, of course, the police are continuing to investigate Lucy Letby and have interviewed her about other allegations, other part of that investigation. They've interviewed her in prison. But clearly Mark MacDonald believes there are questions that need to be put to the Court of Appeal about those previous convictions.
He does indeed, and as we heard from him there, he said he's drafted it and he's going to submit it now to the Court of Appeal. Now, as you say, Greg, Lucy Letby was convicted of murdering 7 newborn babies, attempting to murder 6 others. She was retried as well in July and found guilty of attempting to murder another baby. As you say, she's serving a number of life terms inside prison. And we heard from Mark MacDonald there, who is acting on behalf of Lucy Letby's solicitor, about Lucy Letby. A question was put as to how she is and how she's sort of taking this appeals process. Mr. MacDonald saying, well, how would you expect that she is taking it? And Greg, you mentioned the parents of these children. They haven't spoken to the media, but they've spoken through lawyers.
They've spoken to lawyers at various points throughout this process, and remember, we're talking about the deaths of babies dating back to 2015, the summer of 2015, through to the summer of 2016. So it's been a long journey for those parents, and they've at various points sat through very long trials with a lot of detailed evidence about the most harrowing moments of their lives. We should also remember there is a public inquiry going on as well at this very moment. It's not sitting this week, but it will resume in the new year. Lady Justice Thirlwell chairing that inquiry, which isn't looking at any of the questions about whether Lucy Letby is guilty or innocent. It is merely looking at the questions about how she was able to carry out the attacks that she was convicted of carrying out on those numerous babies over that 13-month period. In fact, Lady Justice Thirlwell said at the start of that inquiry, that all of this discussion about guilt was noise that was proving even more upsetting for families who had already been through so much. We also heard in that inquiry as well from the consultant who first raised the alarm here, Stephen Breary, who told the inquiry he believed that Lucy Letby may well have attacked more babies before the first one that she was convicted of attacking back in June of 2015. So there is a lot of information on both sides of this, but Lucy Letby's legal team, this new legal team, believe there are questions that have not been addressed fully by the Court of Appeal. They want them to be addressed now, but again, accepting that it is rare, almost unprecedented, for the Court of Appeal to review in a situation like this.
Yeah, and as you say, they accept that it's going to be a rare moment if the Court of Appeal do take up this application. And it's all resting on that doctor, isn't the lead prosecution expert, Dr. Delwy Evans, who has changed his opinion on how baby C died. But as I understand it, Greg, and you'll know more than me, Dr. Evans has changed his opinion on how the baby died, but not that Lucy Letby had killed the baby.
Well, Mark McDonald's view is that that change of opinion is significant in this situation. Dr. Evans was a key witness during the trial, a trial, as I say, that lasted for more than 10 months. He has given a number of interviews since the end of the court process where he's talked about his views on some of what happened. It was immensely complex evidence for the jury to pick their way through during the course of the trial. Mark McDonald sees in that the significance that change of opinion cast doubt on all of the convictions. But we've heard from a lot of experts who were not witnesses in the trial over the last few months about their concerns in this case and their concerns about how medical evidence and statistical evidence was presented at the trial. Now, those are people who didn't sit through the trial, didn't have full access to all of the evidence, but have expressed a view that it cast doubt on the safety of the convictions. They're not saying, any of them, that Lucy Letby is guilty or innocent, but they're saying there are questions about that evidence that should be re-looked at either by the Court of Appeal or elsewhere. So there are certainly questions there, and that has fueled this big online discussion that has spread around the world about the safety of Lucy Letby's convictions and whether there is more to discuss. But ultimately it will be a legal process now, as Mark McDonald has recognised, of going to the Court of Appeal and asking them to look again at that decision that they took twice not to allow Lucy Letby the chance to appeal against her convictions.
Indeed, and we'll see where that process goes from here. Greg Milam outside the Countess of Chester Hospital, thank you for that for now, our Chief North of England correspondent there.